All right. A video that I've wanted to make for a couple of days, but I couldn't because I've been sick, and it's been hard not to end up in a coughing tangent after speaking for 15 seconds. So this video is coming out as fast as I could. So okay, what is the style of Counter-Strike? The style, the visual through line that connects every single level together in the game that we call Counter-Strike 2. Counter-Strike 2, as we know, the maps have been partially made by the community. Very rarely, Anubis is the first one in a very long time to be added officially, and it was a community map. I say community very weirdly. Anyway, so the style of Counter-Strike. Anubis is set in Egypt, and you can find ruins like this in real life. For example, this ruin could exist in real life. Or this view. The pyramids definitely exist. But a view like... I'm trying to find like the most low-key area. It is... Anubis is very decorated, This would be kind of a reach to find in real life. The point being, if we take a look at Egyptian ruins, they are usually very barren, very small in scale, and this brings us to the topic of Counter-Strike style, which I believe is exaggerated realism. Look at this view, for example. It's very pale. All of the paint that has been nicely, artistically added in Anubis's case, for example, these little markings, paint on the wall, has been scraped off in real life, of course, because it's an ancient ruin. I like the style personally. I enjoy the more exaggerated style. Look at this bozo. Yeah, I personally enjoy the more exaggerated style because that gives map makers and visual designers a little bit more leeway so that they can exaggerate some of the styles of buildings that they want to get away with, and then actually make it make sense in the video games world. This is actually super cool. This is oh, these are actually super cool. What the hell? I didn't know that they actually had such vibrant colors still. Okay. I stand corrected. I thought that all of the color was scraped off from the outer. Cool. Anyway, point being, and then having the water canal flowing through here with the with the lily pads in T-spawn. Like these are pretty much like living houses. People live here. It's to make the map a little bit more believable in the way that like it's an actual lived-in place. You have some beans on display, stuff like that. But I enjoy all of these aspects, these exaggerated aspects. It helps the map makers get away with, for example, structuring a thing like this, and then hide some of the awkward structuring in the cost of gameplay. You Counter-Strike map design, if you're not familiar, you make the gray box first from a visual idea. You see an idea, for example, a space station map, and you see like a bridge or some sort of a cool control deck or something, and then you try to fit the gameplay around that certain area, and then imagine the rest of the design, the gameplay, and then after all that, you've played this to the map, it plays well. Then and only then you start to add visuals, to finer minute details, after you know that you don't want to change anything. So sometimes the gameplay is just so good that you don't want to sacrifice any gameplay value in the stead of aesthetical value. So you have to make awkward shapes, like for example this donut. You have to make them make sense in some way. So that's why we have this grand gateway here. The next map that we're going to be looking at, for example, let's actually disconnect the heck out of here. Let's go take a look at Ancient. another very good example of Counter-Strike style exaggerated. So we have ancient Mayan or Aztec ruins. I'm not an archaeologist, nor do I know the more specific differences between those two cultures. Point being that the... Right, which one is this? Anyway, point being that we can see the same thread through Ancient's level design. We can see it in the in how it's laid out. Of course, we have pretty of a standard of a layout. And people who hate Ancient, they don't understand the intricacy of this awesome lane here and how it connects to bomb site here. Play more Ancient. Look at the map, and also appreciate that Valve tries to keep their... They have a whole lot of symmetrical symmetry. That's the word. They have a whole lot of symmetry in their levels. Look at this. It's almost the perfect mirror of the left and right side. You know? Anyway, yeah, but like, again, in real life you will find this pyramid, for example. But you will not find it next to this temple, next to this temple, next to this temple, next to this temple that has been more ruined than anything else. The point being that it's way more interesting of a gameplay area to make the map look like this and have the whole game's visual aesthetic be a little bit exaggerated, so you can have colored, ruined, intricate detail on the wall to separate the B site, and also use the detailing in a very clever way of using blue details on B site and teal colors, and then nice distressed orange here to make this lane seem a little bit different, you know, from the rest. And then more towards A, you have these yellow colors. Notice the yellow, and then now you have blue here to offset the bright yellows. So it's a very clever and very you know, it should be kind of obvious to do this in your levels, even if you decide not to exaggerate your video game level. But then, like, why in the hell do we have these like massive crates in the middle of this this jungle temple? Well, the exaggeration also helps to sell the gameplay around the reason why we have these crates for gameplay. For example, here, you know, this could be a giant sculpt head statue, you know, like one of those like massive heads. This could be one of those, but then again, you get into the issue of not being able to wallbang through the stone, you know, and then, you know, if there's an ear, you know, it's gonna make some awkward shapes to play around. So a good old crate is way better for that. All these things make sense if you look at them through the lens of exaggeration, you know, and you know, this, for example, this like yellow stone, is it painted on later, or is it from the ancient times, you know? This would never stick in real life, I think. Okay, let's move on to the next map. I want to show Inferno. Inferno next, and Italy. CS Italy is the same exact visual style. Italy is a little bit more exaggerated because you have more stacked architecture, even though that is very very close to real life in Italy, since you have a lot of hilly terrain. Look at the colors, for example. This scene, this is not exaggerated. This exists in real life. There's a clip from a movie, I cannot remember, but this is like every single piece of architecture in the map looks believable. I will point out something if I see something unbelievable or something too exaggerated. But yeah, what I mean is that, like, you know, the colors, the stonework is a little bit, you know, it pops out of the wall. That could be seen as exaggeration. Yeah, the plentiful barrels around the map, that's probably an element of a little bit of exaggeration. You know, Inferno is very close to life. Let's take some pictures of. I just googled Italian town. Like obviously it's not gonna be the exact one-to-one thing with Inferno, but you can see like these pictures. Of course, these are the cream of the crop, like the most beautiful images ever. You know, but the real life. I mean sorry, not the real life. The video game level doesn't look out of place. Of course, it's again a little bit exaggerated, you know, and we like Counter-Strike for that. One huge thing when it comes to animations, when it comes to the visuals of the game, the choice of using, for example, let's get a bayonet. Look at the animations on the knife. It's way cooler to have this animation instead of the animation of someone just like pulling out a knife like the normal way out of the sheath, like, you know, and there's the knife. It's way cooler to have like a fancy flipping animation, you know. Which one's cooler, that or the default T knife, you know? Or then we have the M9 bayonet, you know? That movement, that like flip, it's pretty much this movement you do. This is a drumstick. It's not a knife, but it's like, you know. And where is it pulling the knife out of? You know, it makes sense in Counter-Strike that you can pull out your knife immediately because the whole game is like, the game mechanics are also exaggerated a little bit, right? Then there's the Molotov cocktail, you know. It's an old wine bottle filled with gasoline or alcohol or something, and then you have the rag. Look at the fire; it's so colorful and so animated. Very beautiful to look at. You throw the molly down. Look at the fire. Very colorful fire again, super exaggerated. We have an HE grenade. HE is pretty accurate. The explosion is also like the cloud of the smoke. It's very colorful, very colorful. Explosions are not that cool in real life from a high explosive grenade. Then you have a flashbang. Sorry, still a bit sick. Normal flashbangs don't blind you in real life. They flash, and then they make like they're more like decoy grenades. Like the decoy grenade is the exact way that a flashbang works in real life, and but they just like, you know, they blow up a little bit more. But the decoy doesn't make a sound of a gun, the latest gun you used. Anyway, then you have a smoke grenade. Smoke grenades in real life don't bloom this fast, you know. They drift away with the wind, and they leave like a trail of smoke, you know. But these mechanics have to be in order for us to have a video game called Counter-Strike, you know? It's pretty much like we started with 1.6, you know, over 20 years ago, and it's the technology wasn't there for us to have maps looking like Inferno, you know? So we had to start with something that was more relatable to the games of that time, you know, Half-Life. It's a lot of the textures were from Half-Life, even though they were textures that were mostly taken in real life. Some of the textures had to have been like you know, spliced together from like real life elements, but then, you know, completely made up. So so you get imaginary textures kind of, and then CS 1.6 evolves into CS Source, and you get more higher fidelity, like finer detailed textures, and now your textures have to look like something, so they went with a little bit more of a realistic style for the maps. And this is evident in also CSGO, where CSGO's Inferno, for example, like this is the T-spawn. This is from real life, but the T-spawn in CSGO Inferno, early CSGO. Here, this is a screenshot from CSGO T-spawn. And it's trying very close to. Oh, this is a cool render. very closely situate the map to somewhere in real life to sell a more serious and relatable video game environment. Then we got after that we got the weird Inferno that was called ugly by a lot of people. Now looking at it, now knowing what we have with CS2's Inferno, like the old Inferno, the weird teenager Inferno is definitely a lot uglier than this. But yeah, you can see some elements of exaggeration here too. I think the only way that I would like definitely spot some like exaggeration is the density of the buildings and the areas. You know, the layout, how they have been positioned in many of these places. It just kind of seems kind of video gamey, you know? I mean, rightfully so. It is a video game. And then like this, you know, how long does it take for a tree to grow like this? How long has this house been abandoned, for example, you know? But there's again, for our gaming pleasure, some of the environments have been made a little bit more epic, you know? It's fun. It's fun. And it's also fun, a little bit more fun to map for a game that's not 100% realistic, you know? You have way more leeway. You can get away with more stuff. And you can use your imagination to fill in some of the blanks, you know? Anyway, I think... Did I have anything else to show? Oh, Chernobyl. In the hot summer of 1986. The nuclear disaster of Chernobyl, Ukraine. Yeah, the cache is set there. This is the old CSGO cache. Then we got the newer CSGO cache. And now we're getting CS2 cache. I'm gonna post FMPong's Twitter down below, so you can go check out some of the new screenshots from there. Yeah, but again, like, this is the old power plant, and you know, as you can see, it's very rundown. I like the colors still, but of course the cache rendition is way more colorful to make it like pop from the background. It's a way more epic of a setting if you exaggerate some of the colors. I think FMPong made it a little bit too colorful with this update. I like the aesthetic but for Counter-Strike, it was just painfully hard to see some of the agent skins, and that was just bad timing, you know. But it was undeniably pretty. Yeah, but anyway, if you're struggling with Counter-Strike level design in the way that you don't know what sort of style you should be aiming for, be it more realistic, more exaggerated, like where do you draw the line of having of using your imagination to conjure up a place, and how realistic, like where do you draw the line of realism versus imaginary place, you know? It's somewhere in there. And some of the things in Counter-Strike maps, like the abundance of crates, like there's crates everywhere, you know, most of the time, that can be explained with the exaggerated realism theme, you know, the drumstick. Anyway, I hope this was useful. Join mapping to play this your maps. I'll link that down below too. Thank you for watching. I hope this was useful. Again, if you're sick, get well soon. I'm wishing that on to myself too. And what comes of the Mapcore mapping contest, I did not get through, but we'll see if I'll make a video of the stage 2 maps. There were definitely a lot of maps that rightfully passed and are worth looking at. There were over 60 maps that got through. Sorry, over 50 maps that got through. Around 60, somewhere there. Anyway, catch you guys later. Bye-bye. Ta-ta.